Welcome to Real Smart, the real estate podcast you've been waiting for. I'm Spencer Kallick, a real estate and land use attorney at Matkins. On this show, I sit down with some of the most dynamic and accomplished voices in real estate to explore trends shaping the industry and uncover what truly sets great leaders apart. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Real Smart. Today's guest is a true pioneer in environmental health and safety, Loren Witkin, CEO of Citadel. Loren brings nearly 4 decades of experience in the EHS space and sustainability space. He's also not only led complex redevelopment, remediation projects across California, also recognized as one of the top 100 Bruin entrepreneurs for those UCLA friends out there. Loren, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Great to be here, Spencer. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us a bit about Citadel. For those who aren't familiar, we've got a broad audience. What is Citadel? What are you guys up to? And tell us a bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for the opportunity. If you ask my family what I do, if you ask my kids, they would say, we have no idea. I sometimes listen to them. I'm like, what does Dad do? And they're trying to explain it and they still don't get it right.
I think I kind of know, but I'm not exactly sure. But
right. So I think I'm still figuring it out.
There you go.
So Citadel EHS, we do environmental, health, safety, and sustainability. And that's a lot of things.
It's a lot of buzzwords right there. So
we do.
Let's break it down.
To break it down, so our organizing principle is providing those services for the life cycle of real estate and business. So we're really about the built environment as opposed to the ecological side. Super important, obviously. It's the built environment where we spend so much of our time. So what we really focus on is how are buildings acquired? How are they entitled or developments entitled? What are all the steps that take place? How are they occupied and used and then eventually disposed, deconstructed, and disposed? So that means we've got a subsurface group, which is engineers, hydrologists, toxicologists. They're doing all the subsurface assessment work and due diligence for a transaction. And then we've got a building sciences group, which is all the hazardous materials associated with the built environment from the ground up, asbestos, lead, PCBs, and so forth. Then we've got an industrial hygiene and safety group. It's a weird word, industrial hygiene or groups. And they are really taking care of the occupants within the building, physical, biological, chemical, radiological types of hazards. And then we've got our compliance group, which is air, noise, dust, emissions, and so forth. And then we've got our ESG sustainability group, which is LEED well certifications. It is greenhouse gas accounting and life cycle analysis for products. So a lot of things all tucked in there.
That is a lot. So let's break it down a little bit, because when I think about you, look, there are a lot of consultants out there and we work with all of them. But what I've always been impressed by is, frankly, how on top of you are and how what I'll call goal-oriented, meaning, if you're trying to acquire a property, let's get you the information as quickly as we possibly can. And that usually starts with, someone's looking at a piece of property, piece of dirt, let's do a phase one. Talk to me a bit about, so a lot of people would think of you as the phase one guy. I know you're doing a lot of other things. You just listed off all those other things, but talk to me about phase ones and that original, kind of like initial pass at things. Where is the kind of state of phase ones these days? A lot of changes in the laws and the approaches to those things. And frankly, what sets you all apart from other folks who do this every day?
I'm going to start with the differentiators. I'm going to work my way back.
Sure.
I came from UCLA, as you had mentioned in the intro, and my job there was managing remediation programs for the university on the environmental side. And I had an opportunity to work with consultants, a lot of consultants and contractors, big and small. And what I recognized, and it was really no fault of their own, is that they didn't necessarily understand the built environment. And so what that led to were a lot of change orders. The process we had was a design, bid, build system. It was a low bid system, and environmental provided a lot of obstacles or opportunities for change orders.
So people would just low bid it and then just change order the hell out of it.
Yeah, because you have to find that place. How are we going to get to where we should be? A project is always going to cost what a project is going to cost, right? So they would look at environmental and go, okay, here's something we can circle. Or they did their best to estimate, but there was not a thorough understanding or a design of the environmental side. So what would happen is we would get change ordered. And so the thought for me was, when we built out Citadel, and it was 32 years ago, we said we need to understand the built environment. We need to make sure that we've got architects and engineers. We really understand that process so that we can be an ally. We can be like a structural, electrical, mechanical, plumbing engineer. We should have a seat at the table with all of those other environmental building professionals. And so that's sort of the thought. And where it starts is the phase one. That's often the first time that a client's going to call and say, We are thinking about.
On-ramp to Citadel is
Yes.
getting you all.
It's the entree of it, right? As they call.
It's the appetizers.
It's the appetizers, right? It's a low fee, highly important step. I think a lot of clients think of it as it's a checkbox. We need to have it done. Let's check the box because the bank is requiring it or the lender or whatever.
Well, and you need it for insurance purposes as well.
Yeah, and you need it to break the liability chain for your all appropriate inquiry so that you're not getting held to account for past liabilities of Superfund, right? So that's where it started. So for us, the first time a client often will interact with us is say, we're thinking about a project. Can you do a phase one? And so for us, the phase one is so critical to understand not only the checkbox side, but we really need to understand, what are you planning on doing with that property? Are you going down? Are you going wide? What are you going to do? Because that is going to inform us of what level of diligence to do, but it's also going to inform the client of what are the schedules impacts from environmental? What are the cost impacts to environmental? And that's so foundational. So again, it's low cost, huge impact. And the
high risk too.
High risk for us, high risk. We've got a $10 million insurance policy we're putting on the line for a $3,000 engagement.
Sure.
Right. Not always great.
But oftentimes it leads to everything's fine, or hey, you got to do a little more digging. We got to do a phase two. What is that trigger that makes you go to a phase two? And what are you looking for once you're kind of literally digging a little deeper? What
we don't want to do is be reflexive. And I think we see that sometimes with other consultants, is that they see something and go, up, phase two, dig. Well, when you just start getting data and you don't know what you're going to do with the data or what the data means, that presents a problem. You as a potential buyer and as the seller's like, hey, we don't want data unless we know what you're going to do with it, how it's going to be used, because you're going to potentially walk away from this deal and leave us with these disclosures, right? So for us, the phase one is going to give us some ideas, potentially what are those recognized environmental concerns. We do have some parameters, which all companies do, about what that constitutes in the historical recs as well. For us, though, we really want to dig into what is the impact going to be if we go forward with this project. And there's something else about it that I think is important, is that we call it winning the buyer's beauty contest. Okay, so what happens is
winning the buyer's beauty contest. I want to hear. I want to hear more about this. That's something I thought I'd hear from you today. But go ahead.
I know. I'm coming up with new things today.
I love it. I love it.
I'm thinking. But so what happens is you've got a lot of buyers, and they're pursuing one particular parcel. And there's some very valuable parcels. I look out these windows. There's parcels that if they transacted, there'd be a lot of buyers. So what happens is a number of buyers show up, and they are asking a lot of questions about the site. And they're asking the sellers for indemnities, and they're asking for things. What we want to do is we want to position the buyer to have all the information that they possibly need so they can underwrite the deal, they can waive contingencies early, and they can position themselves to basically win that bid. And so they are prepared. They go, fine, there's $1 million worth of environmental. Got it. We've underwritten it. We understand the impacts to schedules. Got it. They go to the buyer and say, hey, let's do this deal. We'll waive contingencies early. We're not asking a bunch of questions, indemnities, or whatever. And the seller, of course, is like, you're our guys. You're going to be easy to work with.
Yeah, fantastic.
Right?
Let's do it. So let's talk about, I mean, in my context, oftentimes I'll see it in, see a phase one, a phase two. It'll be part of the CEQA analysis. But when we first started chatting, you listed off all the different things that you all are doing. What are some of the things that you're doing that most people don't know about, or frankly don't think about, maybe top of mind as Citadel, this is their core piece of it? And
yeah, so without the propaganda and making this a commercial.
No, it's not a commercial, but I think it's interesting because it's one of the things that I find a lot in this business is people think of people that we know all the time, right? Hey, you do this really, really well. But the answer is you might do a lot of other things, right? It's like sometimes people come to Alan Matkins, they say, hey, I want to hire Spencer as a land use attorney, but they don't realize that we're great in environmental, or, we should be buying the property for you, or JVing it, or, God forbid you get sued, we got litigation. So I'm always curious to hear, I think of you as the phase one, phase two guy, but I also know that there are a lot of other things you're doing. What should other folks know you're doing?
Thanks for teeing that up, because I appreciate it.
I'll be here all day. Keep going.
So a couple of things that differentiate us is, one is that we do all of these things, but we do them very well. Because I think you're right. There are companies that have a core competency and everything else is sort of an and we do this. It's sort of an acme.
There's a guy or a gal who's back in a corner who maybe has done it before, but it's not their core competency.
And you don't want to disappoint your clients, so they're like, can you do that? And you're like, oh, yeah, I can do it. But so my experience at UCLA was that we worked with consultants and we found that they did have a core competency, and we'd ask them if they could do something else, and they're like, yeah. But then it was a bit of a letdown because they were not as competent in it. And we found also, even between individuals, even within the same practice or that same office, they acted differently. The behavior was different.
It's not the same culture.
It's not the same culture. So there may be a name on the door, but how it shows up is it's really more about the individual person's brand. So at Citadel, we said, look, if we're going to do these things, we're going to do them at a very high level. So every one of those services we talked about, we have practice leads in charge that we have pulled in from major companies.
Yeah, I know you've done a number of acquisitions as well over the years and kind of flexed. Yeah, absolutely.
The idea of having a subject matter expert who is responsible for that is important. And then also having a brand. So we have values that we don't just, it's not just slogans on a wall. It's not a guy in a rowboat, a bunch of people. It's really something that we recognize, we celebrate, we communicate frequently so that there is a Citadel brand. Now, things are going to get rendered slightly differently between if it was you or me because we have different personalities experience, but there is an experience that they're going to have. So I would say that the concept of what don't people know about us is it's the integrated service, it's the depth of those services, and just the high level that we do.
But give me a specific, right? What's something that you're like, gosh, we are really good at this and most people don't know it?
Taking really challenging projects where there's a community element to it, where there is a number of different aspects that need to be integrated and performed. So for instance, I think about Hollywood Park and the Rams, Rams Stadium, SoFi. We got engaged with that project, I don't know, probably before the Rams were even involved, maybe it was 15 or 20 years ago.
This is the Kroenke Stadium that's now incredible nationwide, worldwide sports and entertainment venue. It's going to be one of the sites for the Olympics where the broadcast center is going to go. It's a very important site. Yeah.
And so we got involved with Wilson Meany 20 years ago when they thought about this. And so it was really just understanding all of the issues that were present. It was communicating with the community and sitting next to Mayor Butts and saying, this is what's going to happen. I think that's something that maybe people don't know about us or don't think about, where we're really good at just give us some really challenging projects with a lot of hair on them, and we're going to figure them out. So, we come back to the phase one side. There's a lot of companies that do phase ones. It's great. It's a very transactional kind of thing. It's generally not our sweet spot. If it's for development and we can scale, we can do small, we can do big, that's where I think we really fit, is give us a project that you need a little bit of everything, and it's going to be challenging.
So talk to me a bit about some of the trends that you're seeing right now. You were kind enough to have me speak on a panel with you with a bunch of environmental planners several months ago. I will admit I didn't get to go to every single one of the panels. I'm sure you did. But how is the nature of your business changing? What have you seen over the last 30 plus years as an environmental consultant? Is it getting easier or harder? What are you seeing right now?
Okay, God, these are such great questions. And I'm going to take that in a couple of pieces. So the first part is what's changed. It's the breadth of what we were experiencing. When I started, I was the asbestos program manager at UCLA. Before I left, it was asbestos-led, phase ones, it was all of these other things, right? So what's happening is the industry is much more expansive. It was a much more reactive industry at the time. A regulation would come out, we would respond. A lawsuit would come out, we would respond. Now, I think environmental health, safety, and sustainability, it's becoming part of the DNA. It's becoming part of the strategy of an organization. It's just, that's what they think about. They think about a project. They think about their mechanical, electrical, plumbing, structural. They think about environmental. It's just part of that DNA. With or without regulations, it's expected to be just part of the project. So there's that part of the strategic part, the less reactive part. What we're seeing currently in the industry, as we're seeing in the entire AEC space, is a lot of consolidation. We've got a lot of private equity coming into the marketplace.
Seems like every industry right now, whether it's summer camps of their day, moving to private equity, CPAs, everyone seems to be.
Yeah, your veterinarian is all PE.
Yeah, no, it's very true. So a lot of consolidation.
A lot of consolidation.
Are you telling me you're selling me that Citadel's for sale, and if there's a private equity company out there listening?
No, we're buying though. We've definitely got a big pipeline.
All right, fair enough.
But there's a lot of private equity. Even family offices are now involved in it. Sponsors, strategics, they're all there. So it depends on sort of who you ask in a sense, because that has led to a lot of migration. So we just picked up 5 people in the Pacific Northwest from a big company, and we've got another list of 37 people that they gave us. So like, hey, and we don't want to be a refugee assistance program kind of thing, but
Sure.
there's a lot of movement because of that.
Because folks don't want to work at a big company, they want to work at
I think they want to be seen, and there's nothing wrong with private equity. We've seen a huge difference in private equity that was just, hey, let's just sort of gut companies.
By the way, I completely agree with you. To my private equity clients who are listening, nothing wrong with private equity. We love you.
They're
We love you.
fantastic. We need them to scale. We actually are looking for private equity to be able to recap and to build. It's essential because organic and inorganic growth is vital to what we do. But I think you're finding now is you're finding family offices, you're finding sponsors, you're finding private equity that is into the buy and build, and there's alignment there. So as long as you have alignment, that's great for employees. Employees want opportunities. They want opportunities not to be in the next position, but they want to be able to grow within their position. In order to do that, you've got to always be growing and expanding, as well. So that's been a change. We're seeing a lot of retirements, obviously, and you're seeing it on the regulatory agency side, the people that we've worked with for all these years. Our client side, we've got...
Is that age-driven, politics-driven, maybe a little bit of both?
Yes.
Yes. Yes and yes. All right, fair enough.
Well, we're in California.
So let's think about that. Look, California is, and it kind of has always been, the environmental bastion of being ahead of the curve. Some might say it's potentially overregulated or a lot of regulations. There's a reason that we all have jobs every day. But you've also seen some pullback, maybe from the federal level, from the local level, even from the state recently with some of these new state laws that have been passed to try and speed up the production of housing, AB 130, SB 131. You've seen these kind of the pendulum swing. Are we seeing a swing back, a kind of deregulation in California, or what are you seeing right now?
The book that I was reading or I'm listening to on Audible on the way here is Ezra Klein and Derek Thompson. Abundance. Okay.
Yep. Everyone keeps mentioning that. I think it's hilarious. I went to college with Derek, so it's funny because I remember him freshman year, and now all of a sudden he's got this book that's all over the world. So good for you, Derek.
I think you should praise him because
absolutely.
I think there's an acknowledgement right now that there was a need for regulations, right? Just like there was a need for organized labor because of just abuses and what have you. And so you get this pendulum swing. And I think what we're recognizing now is that the number of regulations, the number of agencies and so forth, the hurdles, it's obstructing us from getting the things done that we need to get done. Housing,
is it on its own, or when you add it on top of the fact that capital markets, interest rates are so high, it's really hard to find financing that makes sense. Construction costs, labor costs are going up. Is it on its own or in the context of everything else that is making it challenging for projects to move forward right now?
So it's all connective tissue for sure, but we were seeing these trends already before interest rates changed. There were already, friends, neighbors, companies, people were bailing out of California. They were heading to Texas. They were heading to Florida. They were heading to...
But is it that much? I mean, you're operating across the United States?
Yeah.
Is it really that much easier in all the other states? Is California really such over the top? It is.
California is challenging.
What's it's just because there's so many regulations, or because everyone here looks so beautiful? What's the challenge?
It is the number of regulations. It has been the cooperation of the agencies. Even we met with the new head of DTSC, Katie Butler. She came over from County Public Health, and she said, we need a major culture shift in our organization. It's got to be about outcomes, not about how many cases we open, but how many cases do we close. And so again, I can't blame it just on the regulatory side of it. There's just a lot of things taking place. We've been very active involved in the Palisades and Eaton fires. I was one of 2 consultants that worked on writing the environmental piece of the project recovery document that went to the mayor and so forth.
This is the one with the ULI and
yes,
UCLA
and USC and UCLA.
Yep.
And that's really the city at its best, bringing together all of these amazing experts.
I just really hope that folks are actually reading it and listening and taking it to heart, but because I know that's been a challenge. It's always great when we put these things down on paper, but I actually got to implement them as another challenge.
It is. It's about, and this is what Ezra Klein talks about and Derek talk about, it's not just about inventing, it's about building it out from there.
Correct.
What we've seen in the Palisades fire recovery side and Eaton to a degree too is Steadfast LA, which is backed by Rick Caruso. Caruso was able to do some amazing things in a very short period of time because he recognized the need, and government allowed him to have that flexibility too, right? They set the stage. So a couple of things that we came across with that was on bringing AI into the process of reviewing plans and doing self-certification and so forth. Rick Caruso made a phone call to Amazon World Services, according to his story, and he said, I cut a check for $2 million and I had AI ready to go on it. He was having challenging just getting into the community because everyone's using paper and clipboards.
Sure.
Right. And just called up Clear and said, hey, can you guys give us an app for that? Done. So if we do those things, because we know we have the ability to do them, we just have to create a level playing field with the government, gives private enterprise an opportunity to do it, and they embrace each other. We can get all these things done. So there's a lot of things at play.
Sure.
They're all surmountable.
So there are definitely a lot of barriers and things, a lot of like regulations. You're in the weeds on these every day. I've always thought that also makes California kind of a leader, and the higher the barrier to entry, the more valuable your project is worth once you're through the process. Maybe that's self-serving, the kind of thing I say to my clients every day, kind of tongue in cheek, but is that the case? Is it, again, you're doing projects all over the United States. Are things that much more valuable here? And are you seeing that higher barrier actually creates a benefit to your clients?
Well, so there's certainly a scarcity, right? But there is a tipping point to it to sort of bring in a Malcolm Gladwell concept to plugging all these authors here.
Exactly. I hope they're listening.
Right?
Come on the podcast. We'd love to have you.
So it does provide some scarcity, but at a certain point when you don't have potential clients to buy your products or what have you, there's a problem there. We went to an event last week. We had a number of our clients there that are major developers, and they all said to a T, we're not investing money in California because we can't build the data centers that we want here. I talked to a longtime client, and he did his first project in Utah, and he goes, I'm never coming back to LA. And I was like, okay, why? He goes, they met me at the plane. They could not have been more helpful to get my projects through. Another podcast I was listening to, they talked about the Trader Joe's experience versus the DMV, right? Right. Trader Joe's, they put staff on the floor to stock during operating hours. And why do they do that? They do it because they want clients to bump into their staff. So the staff are incentivized to figure out, okay, you want that cheese? I'm going to get up from what I'm doing. I'm going to help you find that cheese. They're working with you to get something accomplished, where sometimes it feels with some of our agencies, it's very obstructionist. It's a little competition of, okay, you give them something and they go, yeah, wrong, take it back, go back to window 5. And you're like,
they're not solution oriented.
They're not solution oriented. We have to find the alignment together, that we are trying to solve problems together. Apolitical. We have to take politics out of it and do what is right. What's right with transportation, what's right with housing and so forth. And so environmental health and safety underpins a lot of that. Amen. So how do you do that? You talked about, and we were chatting before we hopped on, about AI and ways, everyone, it's very cliche. Everyone's got an AI story or, how they're using AI. But it sounds like you're already using AI and have been for many years now in your business and creating maybe even some proprietary software. Talk to us a bit about where that's at right now. I think everyone's had AI in their lives for a lot longer than they've known, but it's just sort of a buzz term. But what we're seeing now is we're able to use AI agentically, to use it as an agent to help us. Not necessarily, I think the scary thing is the replacement side of it. We have not encountered that. We're not hiring staff. We're not laying people off because we're like, okay, we've now got this AI instrument. What AI is allowing us to do is it's allowing us to be more efficient when it comes to phase ones, which we don't do a ton of phase ones, but when we know we do them, there's a ton of data, thousands of pages of data that we need to get through. And we used to have a month. Now we get a week or 2 weeks to get through it. We need to be able to help our staff analyze and look at the data. So
synthesize things and make it more put the issues front and center.
Yeah, give another set of eyes so that AI can be looking for things, help summarize things. Those are the pieces I think that help. Even on a very basic level, the thing we launched yesterday was with our benefits programs and our employee handbook is just having an AI chatbot so that people can talk in normal voices and say, okay, tell me about this plan and this plan and this plan. And it's not a research assignment, right? I don't know how you feel like when benefits come up for renewal, you're just like, okay, I don't know. You just pick something.
I just say yes because I don't have a choice in the matter. And yeah, exactly.
So this way we're using AI to say, okay, go ahead and query the HR handbook. When do I get this vacation? When do I get that? It's just, again, it's agentically useful. I don't know if we get to a replacement side, but again, we know we don't have switchboard operators. There's not a lot of lamplighters walking around the cities anymore. So I'm excited about it. I think this is probably the most excited I've been about technology entering into the industry. So, yeah. So I think it's something to be embraced. And at the same time, we have to have a watchful eye. It's very easy to be lazy about AI and say, okay, AI, write me a letter. And then you look at it and you go, well, that's not my voice. That's not my tone. You really need to know how to use it properly with prompts and so forth.
Well, I'm learning it as we go, shall we say. Talk to me about your motivation. You've been doing this for 30 years more. That's a long time. What keeps you motivated? What keeps you grounded at the same time as you're leading this large company?
I like what I do. I love the people. I love our staff. I truly do. I know it sounds so cliche. And I was talking to your staff today about just being back in the office. What does that feel like too? Because I would like to see more of our staff in the office.
We're here every day. Come on down.
I think I'll spend time. I saw breakfast here.
Come on down. Love to have you.
My wife describes me as a Labrador. I do gravitate to people. So that's first and foremost. I do think that there's an alignment too, that we are making a difference. And it's refocusing staff sometimes going, I know today seems mundane or what have you, but you are allowing someone to get home safely from work with all their fingers and toes and so forth. You protect the environment. So I think that it's purposeful driven. And I think the other thing that motivates me too is that I think we're a unique business in a sense. We've been an employee-owned company. We started the employee ownership in 2003, and in 2015, we became 100% employee-owned. I'm the only person in the company without equity in the company. I think the idea of showing other entrepreneurs how you can be a capitalist, but a capitalist with values, that capitalism is not a bad word at all. It's absolutely the best system we've ever had, and it's so it's just so fundamental. So I think it drives me too. It's just that mentoring side, that third stage of life. I could plug another book here with Ray Dalio and Principles, but I think it's about that third stage that really motivates me.
And so you're an employee-owned business. So talk about what that means. And basically, when I'm hearing
it means I'm the cruise director. I just walk around and go, are you okay? Are you good? Are you good?
Well, it also sounds like you work for everybody else.
I do. Oh, absolutely.
How did that come to be? I mean, that's a pretty big shift. That most companies are not employee-owned. I mean, unfortunately, law firms haven't followed that model. Maybe fortunately, unfortunately, I'm not sure. But what made you want to make that change?
I recognized that we can't do what we do without everybody. I mean, literally everybody. If the person answers the phones, the person that processes an invoice, everyone has got to be engaged. They've got to get it right. And there was an old ad campaign about happy cows make happy cheese, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I think that happy employees make happy clients and so forth. They make less mistakes. They're engaged. They care. They show up. They do the extra mile. That makes my life a whole lot easier. My phone's off right now. I'm not worried because it's being handled by people that care. So in order to do that, you have to give people a stake in the game. It doesn't always have to be a huge stake, but the idea that they feel that they've got ownership in the process, I think it says a lot, and I think it means a lot to them. So that's where it started. We didn't use the ESOP as a transition out. We used it as a retention tool. And that's how we got to the point of me not having any equity, is that when we did the 30%, it went really fast and we kept all those employees and there was no more shares of stock to give out. So then we did another sort of recap and I realized, hey, it's just the cost to do that. Let's just go 100% at the time. So that's how we got to the point that we got to.
Amazing. How many employees now?
Probably a little over 100.
Tell me a bit about your leadership style. You've obviously talked about some of the initiatives you've had, but how do you approach your employees? How do you approach mentoring? Because you've been doing this for a while and you've seen a lot.
What I say about my style may be different than what other people are going to say.
Well, we're going to have some folks call in here.
Yeah,
I think we've got some folks on the line. Yeah, exactly. We'll fact check this later.
We do an employee satisfaction survey every year. A third party does it. So I do try to make sure that we are getting.
Don't you know I have it right here? I'm about to ask you some questions about it.
I'm afraid. Because I haven't read everything in it yet. But
they said you're doing a good job.
Okay, good.
Keep it up.
I hope I am. I think my leadership style is I'm collaborative. I think I'm adaptive. They say nice guys finish last. I don't think that's true. I think that at the end of the day, nice guys get to where they should be and so forth. And I think that means just not making it about you, right? There's that saying about humility. It's thinking less of yourself. It's about thinking of yourself less often kind of thing. And so I think the idea of just don't make it about you because it's not about you. There's just no way you can do what you do. There's no way to scale up without all these people that do what they do. So that piece of the puzzle, I think, is vital. this isn't a knock on anyone, but there's no pictures of me in the lobby with a big American flag kind of thing. My name's not on the door. There's no bronze sculptures in front.
I've been to your office. I know that to be true.
True, but now for Walt Disney, it worked out just great. He's got all those things. It's worked out great. But I think for
Citadel,
me,
Disney, about the same.
About the same, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Everyone knows the companies. Funny thing is, if I get on a plane and they see Citadel, they think I'm either the
banker.
Well, definitely the hedge fund, or they think we're part of the military academy in South Carolina,
there you go.
or the outlet mall here in Southern California.
Exactly.
So we've got to correct all that. But
you're like, no, but I can do you a great environmental.
Absolutely. I'm like, and they're like, we don't know what you do. Industrial hygiene, we don't get that.
You're like, listen to this podcast. It's called Real Smart. You'll learn all about it.
And you'll be real smart at the end.
Download it right now. Perfect.
So, that's sort of the style. It's just make it less about you. Make it collaborative. Talk to people. Engage with people. Don't be afraid of people. Have genuine curiosity and interest in them and their lives.
Well, and you're not just talking about it. You actually do it. I mean, we know each other for a number of years, but the most personal guy I've ever met. And you seem to know everybody. You seem to really kind of have a zest for life and for relationships. How did that come to be?
Mom and dad.
Same way.
Yeah, mom and dad. I mean, anyone that ever stepped foot into our house, they were part of the family kind of thing. And that's just how it's always been. People step into your lives, you bring them in. Now, there are people, I drove, on the freeway, the 405 this morning, and there are people that I'm shaking my head at going, yeah, okay.
Not your best friends, what you're saying.
No, at least not in that moment. But maybe they've got to get somewhere. Maybe there's something going on. But yeah, it starts with mom and dad, and no doubt it started with their folks too. And yeah, I totally believe if you just smile at someone, hold a door open for them, that's how you change lives in a very short order, in a very small kind of way. Just let people know they're being seen.
We should rename this podcast as Life Lessons with Loren Witkin, because I think these are good ones to remember. And sometimes it's the small things in life that we lose track of and we got to really refocus on. So I appreciate you adding that to the mix.
I'll add to that if I can do another quick little plug.
Absolutely.
On our website, during pandemic, we did a life and leadership series. It was like a master class of just small snippets of parables and stories. And I didn't do it because I didn't feel I was the best person to be able to communicate with our staff in the moment. So I asked a buddy to do it. And so some of our clients saw them and said, hey, can we have them? So they're on our website under About Us, under Life and Leadership.
Citadel.org, what is this?
CitadelEHS.com.
There you go, okay.
And there is some great videos that Ron LaPaz did for us that are just, I still look at them today and go, wow, okay, I needed that bit of inspiration. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. No, thank you. Thank you. You mentor a number of young folks who work for you. You've seen kind of people come and go in this industry. What advice do you give to young folks who are starting out in the EHS business today, because obviously a little different than when you started? What advice do you have for folks both in the EHS space, but also in the real estate space?
So if you're avoiding certain classes, if let's say you're still in school, if you're avoiding those classes, look at that and ask yourself why. I'm a political science major by education. I avoided math and science classes and so forth, and I sort of regret that.
I never took a physics class, just putting it out there.
Right.
Yeah. It's been fine for me, but then again,
You never know. We're only halfway through the story, maybe.
Exactly.
I think that it should inform you if you're avoiding something, why? Because it may be something that will round you out more. So when it comes to, when we're dealing with our kids that are in STEM and the science side, they probably avoided writing classes and communication classes and English classes and whatever. Those are so valuable because the technical side is important, but it's everything else.
But I thought with AI, you can just have it write it for you, no?
Yeah, and it's going to be in a different voice, and it's going to be in everyone else's voice, right, too. But if you really want it to be you and be authentically you, you've got to be able to write and communicate. So I would say that would be one, is challenge yourself. If you're thinking about the environmental industry, a lot of people are thinking that they're going to be saving whales and hugging trees and so forth. And yes.
Isn't that what you do all day long?
I wish. I hug a lot of whales and I save a lot of trees. But it's about the built environment where we spend time. So have an interest in how buildings are built, how they are operated, how they're deconstructed. Look at entitlements. Look at all that stuff that may not be as sexy.
I think entitlements are very sexy.
Yes, I should. So yes, I know. No offense.
I can't think of anything sexier than entitlements.
Yes,
that's okay.
Exactly. I would say those would be the two things. Challenge yourself about things that are maybe a little bit challenging for you. Go into them. We tend to think about in grades. No one ever looks back at grades. Again, don't care. Honestly, the other thing about this too is when I look at resumes, I don't look at the top down anymore. I look from the bottom up because everyone's gone to the same schools. They've joined all the same clubs, blah, blah, blah. Don't really care. Tell me about you, what makes you different. Okay. Tell me that you were in band. That's going to tell me a lot. Tell me that you were an athlete. That's going to tell me a lot. Tell me that you travel. Tell me that you volunteer. Show me things that are going to show me who you truly are, because I'm not just hiring for that job. I'm hiring you for the next job and the next job and the next job. And so I really need to see that in someone. If you've already made it to this pile, you've already checked all those boxes, so.
How did you know my next question was going to be, what do you do when you're not working? What keeps you busy? I'm guessing you were probably in the band and you were probably an athlete. Am I right?
Or I don't play any instruments. I'm horrible. I can't sing, can't do any of that. I wish I could, but I avoided all these things. I went through life just going up, avoid that, avoid that, avoid that. And yeah, I like sports, not great, but I think I just do a lot of things, like to dive and like to travel a lot just to see the world and see how people live. And
favorite place to travel?
Oh gosh, tough. I don't think there's a place that you can not go to and find something to appreciate, honestly.
Okay.
Lots and lots of places out there.
Okay, fair enough. Well, look, I really appreciate you taking the time to join us on the Real Smart podcast. This has been super interesting, both to hear about your business, but also about just some of your life lessons and leadership styles, and some really good feedback for people who are out there who are thinking about going in the EHS space, or thinking about, hey, I need to hire an environmental consultant. So appreciate you taking the time, and thanks so much.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely.
And, we connected for a reason. I remember we were at a lunch a while ago and we connected, and it was just because we see the world the same way. So right back at you, buddy.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Thanks so much, Loren.
Thank you.
Have a good one. The content of this podcast is for the general informational purposes only and does not constitute legal advice. Listening to this podcast does not create an attorney-client relationship between you, the host, guest, or Alan Matkins. You should not act or rely on the information discussed without first consulting a qualified attorney regarding your specific situation. Any opinions expressed are those of the individual speaking and do not necessarily reflect the views of Alan Matkins or its clients.